Hey, what's up? Jeff here. Just redoing this actually because the stream failed on the last one and it got deleted, whatever. It's a whole technical corruption. Plus I forgot to do Instagram. So going live again, and I'm basically going to repeat myself. Hopefully it'll be a little more articulate the second time around. This conversation, is basically, I want to kind of get honest and not come clean. I don't know, maybe that's not the right word, but just get really sincere about something that happened to me this morning that is a real challenge. Hey, Rodrigo, what's up, man? Appreciate you being here. And I debated whether or not to have this conversation publicly, but I realized I'm kind of a hypocrite if I don't. So I want to talk about being terrified. I want to talk about being really, really scared. So I was in the gym this morning and I was on the treadmill, just kind of warming up, getting ready to go, lift weights. And at first I thought I was really hungry, which didn't make a ton of sense. Didn't seem... I'm like, because I usually never eat in the mornings, so I didn't understand quite why I was so hungry. And then I realized it felt different than hunger. It was like tingling all over my body. And I thought, am I really tired? And I'm like, yeah, I'm tired, but I'm actually always kind of tired at this hour. It's almost 6 a.m. now, but this was at about 5 a.m. And I'd been up for a while. But anyways, I realized I think I'm having like an anxiety attack. Is it panic? I don't know. It's hard. I don't know the words. I don't know the labels. This isn't something I deal with or that I've really dealt with before. But I think that I'm kind of like freaking out. And so I left the gym. I was like, there's no way I can work out right now. And I went and sat in my car for like 15 or 20 minutes. And I was kind of trying to psych myself up to go back in the gym. And then I realized if I do that, I don't think that I'm actually taking the cues that my body is giving me. And I don't think that I'm really listening to what's happening. And I don't think that I'm seizing the opportunity of what this really is, which is, it should be really good feedback. There's an opportunity here for me to understand myself a little better. And I need to take that opportunity. So I thought, okay, well, I guess I'm a guy who has anxiety. That's not a normal new sensation for me. So I'm like, okay, first of all, I got to deal with it. I got to work through it. And then I got to try to process it and understand it and maybe source it and get to the bottom of it so that I can learn and grow and become a better version of myself, right? That's always the opportunity in struggle, is to become a better version of ourselves, right? So, first of all, okay, how am I going to process through this? Well, let me go to the office and I thought there's two ways I can handle this. Either I can go small, I can turn inward and try to think my way through it, which I know is, biochemically not a good solution, because when you can't think your way out of hormones or an endocrine release in your body. You can't think your way through that. So, or I can go change my energy and I can go in the groups. I can go talk to the internet. I can do what I'm always preaching, which is that, I'm always preaching that there's this real power in going live and putting yourself out there and processing through things publicly. Because when there's people watching, you hold yourself to a different standard. Think about your life. When there are people watching, you hold yourself to a different standard, right? And so how would I process this if the world was watching, if the world was processing with me? And whether or not, right now I'm on Instagram. There's one person watching this on Instagram. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. There's according to Facebook, there's 4 people on my page and, I don't know, 4 people in the group. And I know that over time those numbers are going to grow, but it's not like about having some huge audience. It's just knowing that you're not alone changes you, right? And there's been such power in that for me over the last 2 years. Every time I've felt scared or I felt insecure about the fact that, well, if I do my job, which, I've kind of set myself on a track to create content. I became a content creator, right? Which means my job is to put myself out there. And every time I have the fear, I have the insecurity and the anxiety. I guess it's been a low-grade anxiety. Today it's like full-blown anxiety. But I push through it and I go live anyways, or I shoot my video anyways, or I do, I create my content. Every time I do it and I come out the other side of it, I feel so much better. And part of it is just because it's like, you feel good when you do a thing that's hard or you overcome a fear. Because, by the way, I'm like literally, I have anxiety or nerves, I should say. I have nerves every time I do this. 2 years I've been doing it, and it hasn't changed. Now, my life has changed. I've got a totally different life than I did 2 years ago because I keep pushing through, because I keep putting myself out there, because I keep being what feels like vulnerable to me. As a kid who got picked on and bullied a lot, I just don't like that much attention. But every time I push through it, I end up feeling better. And so I thought, well, that's worked in general. So theoretically, it should work now, even though what I'm experiencing is much more extreme than the normal nerves that I usually experience. Theoretically, the effect should be the same, where if I process it publicly and I put myself out there with all my scars, both the wins and the losses, the good and the bad and the ugly, and I put myself out there, there's a therapeutic effect. And there can also be a danger to it, that I open myself up to criticism or attacks, and certainly I've had plenty of those online. But what I realized is, so that was it. I had a choice. I could either process privately or I could process publicly, and I decided to process publicly. So I'm kind of like on the tail end of it now. It's feeling better. I actually I shot this video once before, but the tech fouled up, so I'm redoing it. And so just the repetition's giving me another cycle to kind of work through. And I'm feeling better, but it's still fresh, and I've still got like a little bit of the jittery feeling. But so that was step one, was like going, okay, how am I going to deal with this? And then committing, I'm going to go to my office and I'm going to go public and I'm going to talk about this, because there's probably value in this conversation for other people too. As entrepreneurs, I created Entre Nation because it's meant to be a safe, supportive group that validates and encourages and understands the entrepreneur life, that we take risk, we live on the edge, we live on the fringe. We're not normal, and it's hard. And so if that's what the group is supposed to be, and yet in this moment I can't go to the group, then what does that say? So I was like, okay, that's how I need to do it. But then the second component was, okay, what does this mean? What meaning am I going to derive from this? What's the lesson? All of my content is basically, oh, hey, this happened to me. Here's what I think it meant. Maybe we can learn from this. Let me share. That's like my infinite well of content. This shouldn't be any different. Just because it's more scary, if anything, that should make it more useful, more valuable. So as I've had some time here to think this through, here's what I actually think is happening. And then as soon as I had this sort of light bulb, like, wait, I think that's what's happening. I was like, oh, well, you shouldn't go live about that, because it might sound... it might get a negative response. Some people might not like hearing that from you, or you just might be showing your hand that you're not perfect. You're not even excellent in some ways. Like this whole Entre platform, the whole Entre value system, physical, personal, and professional excellence, balanced excellence, constant and never-ending improvement, daily disciplined action, all of our values that I talk about, effective communication, they all stack up to kind of some pressure, right? What if we externalize it if we don't hold true to why it's important, then it can turn into pressure. And for me, what's happening, I think, is the reality that Entre has blown up in the last 6 months. The visibility, the publicity, just the size and scope. I mean, Entre's enrolling almost 8,000 students per month. We're doing, I've got over 20,000, I think, downloads per month of the free ebook. Is that even right? I don't know. I'd have to go pull the numbers. It might be way more than that. I mean, it's big numbers. And the bottom line, I'm getting people hit up, people I haven't talked to in a decade. Jeff, I saw your ad. Jeff, you keep following me around on YouTube. Everywhere I go, I see your face. And I'm being invited on big interview shows. Today, I'm on the James Altucher podcast. I guess it was last week, I was on the Mike Dillard podcast. I was went down to Vegas to be on the Brad Lee show. The world is really, really caught on and taking note of what we're doing. And the fact that it's a lot of Entre's platform is predicated on this idea that this Jeff guy kind of has some things figured out and he's packaged it and he's teaching it. It stacks up to a form of pressure that I'm supposed to be balanced and excellent. And what's happened is here's what I've realized. Sorry, let me just get to the point here. The best version of ourselves is actually one of the most terrifying things in the world. I realized a strategy 2 years ago, and it was a strategic decision as a marketer and just as a human who wanted to develop, to say, I'm going to start putting out to the world the version of myself that I like the most, the best version of myself that I think I could grow into. And I'm just going to start establishing that person, that existence, that identity with intent or with intention, right? And I started putting it out to the world. And by the way, it works. The formula works. You start putting yourself out there to the world as the person that you're trying to become, and you become that person. The commitment and consistency principle kicks in. You don't want to be a hypocrite. You do want to raise your level. You do want to be more like what you're espousing, and your standards go up and your circle shrinks and all this change happens. And it's the power of what I talk about all the time. But what I realized, kind of my epiphany this morning, is when your circumstances start to deviate from your core identity, then you run into dissonance, right? It's called it's a type of cognitive dissonance. And in my case, I'm experiencing it as a massive ball of anxiety and terror. I realized in the car, this is how I felt that one time in my 20s when I thought that I heard noises downstairs and I was pretty sure someone had broken in. I was having a home invasion and I was about to have a gun in my face. That was what I thought. It didn't end up happening. But I remember when I thought that, and I remember how it felt. And in my body, that's what I was feeling this morning. So I'm like, man, this is serious. What is really happening? And I realized the version of myself that I have created through my communication with my audience, it actually terrifies me when I start to experience it as an expectation. Because actually, still in my core, I have work to do. I'm not internally at the level that I'm starting to get to externally. Now, yes, that scares me. That creates anxiety and tension in the body and the mind for me. But man, isn't that the point? Isn't that the opportunity? Isn't that what we're trying to do? The reality is, if we were already the person that we could become, then we would already have the life that we want. And anybody that joins Entre is going after more. And if you're going after more, it means you don't already have it. And if you don't already have it, it means because you're not already that person. And if you're not already that person, then you're going to experience dissonance when you start to create the standards for becoming that person and push yourself to grow into that person. It's actually, this is the essence of the Entre Blueprint. And what I'm actually experiencing is probably a taste of my own medicine. Like to say, okay, because the Entre Blueprint was a documentation of what I had already done, basically. This is how I created $50 million in revenue online. This is how I changed my life. This is how I grew to a certain point. But in the documenting, and man, I talk about this too. It's crazy what happens when all your own shit gets turned on you, or maybe that's not a flattering way to say it. When all your own, when you're the chef and you're forced to sit down and eat your own cooking, it's crazy how you experience it. Because I talk about the power of documentation. I talk about the power of vulnerability. I talk about the power of putting our best selves out to the world. And that's what I've been doing consistently for 2 years. And because it all works so damn well, the net result of it is that it's pushing me to level up. It's pushing me to grow to places far beyond where I've ever been. Places where I have literally millions of eyeballs on me. I have hundreds of thousands of people that I'm directly impacting. Hundreds of thousands of people that I'm literally getting paid from every year. It's a whole new level for me. And I can either do what most people do, which is regress, run away, turn, try to figure out some other way that I don't have to deal with it or that I can stay insulated from it. Or I can go, this is what success feels like. You wanted it, you got it, own it. Handle your shit. Grow. Not in a harsh way, but in a kind way. Jeff, this is what you wanted. Grow. And don't do it in private, man. Our secrets make us sick. If all this stuff you say is true, if you're leading Entre the way you profess, then you got to lead them through the whole experience of growth, the whole experience of being an entrepreneur. And if you try to be the fearless leader by projecting that you have no fear, you are not serving. And so here I am having this conversation, sharing with you that I'm far from perfect. I'm as human as they come. And today in particular, it feels like it kind of got the best of me. But this approach continues to be so powerful to process through it. And there's some people that I'm seeing emerge in this group. By the way, if you feel me, give me a hell yeah. Like, comment below. Give me a hell yeah if you feel me. And I know some of you do, because there are some people that I'm starting to see emerge in the Entre Nation group that are experiencing the power of the same. The documentation, the public proclamation, the growth into our best self is a powerful thing. And awesome, man. I'm seeing some hell yeahs. I appreciate all of you. Honestly, I want to get back to the gym. I feel a lot better. And I have a limited window to get my workout done, and I think it's that time. I just appreciate that this group is exactly what it's meant to be. It's a place that we can go have these conversations and put ourselves out there. And I want to encourage everyone, I've been on this journey for 2 years. Like, yeah, I've been successful on the internet financially. I made some money, and I know that's a desirable result that a lot of people are looking to emulate. And frankly, that's one of the appeals of Entre, and I'm grateful for that, although I worked really, really hard for it. So I don't feel like I didn't earn it. But it's what's happened in the last 2 years that is by far the most rewarding thing that has ever happened in my career, which is very, very non-monetary. I'm not saying money isn't a part of any business equation, but it's a non-monetary growth result that has been the most exciting part of the last few years. And this process, literally what I just did is one example of how well this process works. I feel better. I feel stronger now than I did 20 minutes ago or whenever I started this conversation. I can add one more item to my list of accomplishments, which is I had a panic attack. And I went live to deal with it in the moment, and I came out of it feeling so much better. there's just power in this, guys. And especially start now. Start when, depending on where you are, it's not too soon to start. Start on day one, documenting your experience, because everyone will find connection and inspiration in what you experience. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go work out. Thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for working through this with me. I hope that there's been some value shared, and I look forward to seeing you guys all next time. Take care.